Good morning, everybody. TG Watkins here. And now this is going to be pre-recorded, so you guys are going to be seeing this on August 18th, but I am recording this the night of August 17th, mostly because I am at my parents' house, and when I'm here, I have technical issues. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. The information that I'm running off of is as of today's close, and by the time you guys see this, some things might be changing in the market. So we'll dive into this and show you what I'm seeing, and then we'll go from there. This is the website that I work with, profitpilot.com, and this is where I have my newsletters. And I've been talking about the market being under pressure for a little bit, and I've been watching some indications to see if that was the case. And one of the clear signals was on the IWM, which is I'll get into that in just a moment here as well. So it's been a very challenging market. The indexes seem to be holding up pretty well, or have been. But underneath the surface, things have been getting kind of weird and kind of screwy. So we're going to be going through all that to show you what I'm seeing and what we can do about it. Now, as you guys kind of go through this, if you're new to me, there's lots of information here. And if you don't know about the MOXY indicator, I'm going to be talking a lot about it. And if you're interested in owning or purchasing the MOXY indicator, once you see how I use it, then you can go over here to services and you can inquire further about it, either the subscription, which is my trading room, or if you guys want to take the class or purchase the indicator on your own, you can definitely do that as well. All right, so we get into the S&P, and just the big picture, what I'm seeing, what I think is going to be happening is I think that we're going to be seeing price probably most likely come down to the daily 50. So I think that we're going to be probably seeing price come down there. It has been the history of the S&P that when price gets too far away from the daily 50, it likes to come back down to it. And we've seen that kind of recently a few times. So I think it's about time for that to happen. So I'm kind of looking in that direction. One other thing as far as the MOXY indicator goes, we've seen that price keeps going higher and higher and higher here on the hourly chart. But if you notice, we don't have a higher high on the hourly MOXY indicator. So this is a form of negative divergence that why are we making new highs when the MOXY indicator can't also match those new highs? What it's telling us is that there is some weakness under the surface and that the momentum is not being supported. The other thing that we have been seeing about the MOXY indicator indicating that this last run-up has been kind of weak was down here on the 15-minute time frame. This is just not very strong. In fact, you can see that for the last week where we had price continuing to move up like this, the MOXY indicator was just not doing much. It wasn't very excited. I mean, look, compare that to how high the MOXY indicator was a while ago, and this is nothing. So that's kind of the problem, is that it wasn't looking very energetic. And then we had some pretty crazy movements on Monday. We had price come back down to the hourly 50 and it bounced. And even though we had a new all-time high, I didn't believe it, I didn't trust it, and I think today showed that, Tuesday showed that, because we gave it all back and then some. I think that was just a massive short covering rally. People were getting squeezed and they just ran price up. I don't think it was actually legitimate buying to make new all-time highs, and I think that was demonstrated based on today's movement with the price getting knocked right back down. So I do think that price is most likely going to start heading towards the daily 50. All right, then we look over at the NASDAQ. And, you know, it's been fairly strong. You know, we've been looking at this thinking, okay, you know, maybe this is pretty good. Maybe price is going to be flagging sideways for quite some time, which it has been. And generally speaking, I've been looking at price holding the daily 21. And then I've also been telling people, hey, watch out for that hourly 200. It's going to be support until it isn't. So keep maintaining a bullish stance on this chart until something like that gives way. And I believe what we're starting to see, if we can see this today, is that we've now had two wicks start to puncture through the daily 21, and we now have the body of the candle sitting right on the daily 21. So I think this is starting to weaken, and I would not be surprised to see price go to the daily 50 at least. It might go further. And then if we look here, we're starting to see that price is getting rejected by the hourly 50, and it's sitting right on the hourly 200, and I have a feeling that's going to break. I think price is going to eventually fall off of the hourly 200. The other indication, notice that the MOXIE indicator has been trending down for quite some time, and it has been below zero for quite some time. This is not a good, strong signal. It is a bad signal. It's bearish. The price can't go up if the MOXIE indicator is below zero this whole time. So this has been telling me, like, number one, okay, we're going sideways. Number two, I just don't see it going up right here anytime soon. And then, Monday, Tuesday, we're starting to get price rejected by the underside of the hourly 50. Now, if we go over to the IWM, this is something, if we're looking at the higher time frames, I've been talking a lot, trying to figure out, okay, generally we're still in an uptrend. We do still have price bouncing off the monthly 10 in this area. And even through here, well, not quite on, I was looking at this, trying to see if price was going to bounce off the weekly 50, but it hadn't. But in through here, it looked decent. So we look at this higher time frame, seems okay. But if we look at the lower time frame, we try and figure out what's going on with it. And that's where we kind of get a little bit of a push-pull. So we did get price to bounce off the daily 200. That made sense. And then as that continued, the daily chart was looking pretty good. We were starting to get some of the moving averages on top of each other. And then on the hourly chart, we were starting to get price to engage with and hold the hourly 50. And we were starting to get the hourly 50 to cross over the 200. So I was looking kind of bullish. I was thinking, okay, well, we're going to have to just wait and see if price is going to be able to pop up. And here's the key point. We were going to see if price was going to be able to get past the daily 50. So this is something I've been telling my subscribers for quite some time. I was like, I'm going to be maintaining a bullish stance, but we do need to watch if price is going to be able to break out and over the daily 50. And if it can't, then we're going to be having some problems. And then if we can see here that price finally started to break below the hourly 50 and the hourly 200, and that's what gave me the signals that, hey, this market is really starting to fall apart. So the IWM gave us a pretty good signal on that one. All right, then if we look at the UVXY, which is the leveraged ETF of volatility, this is something that if it is going down, that is good for the market, and for quite some time, it had been doing that. We could see that it has just been going down for a while, so that was looking really, really good. But as of Friday, this thing changed. As of Friday, we started to see that the price actually got over the 15-minute 50, whereas it never did that in the recent history. So on Friday, that started to give me a signal that something was kind of brewing underneath the surface. And so I went to cash as of Friday, and it was a good thing we did that because Monday opened with a gap down and a lot of trouble out there. Since then, Monday into Tuesday, we had price bounce off the 15-minute 50, and so we got another move up. So now we kind of keep watching and waiting and see when this thing is going to start moving further to the upside. All right, then if we get into, say, some of the bigger stocks, trying to look and see where we're going out there with Apple. Obviously, this thing looks very, very similar to the NASDAQ, and I have some concerns about it. Number one, I'm concerned that this gap, this distance between price and the daily 50 is going to be an issue. I'm concerned that that is making price unsupported. But at the same time, we can't short it, or price is going to keep going up if it is still going to be supported by the daily 21, which it has been, and also, as I mentioned with the NASDAQ, the hourly 200, which it has been. And so over the last couple of days, Apple has still been able to move up and actually make new all-time highs despite some of the market weakness. Now, I think that this is problematic. I don't think this is going to really last for a couple reasons. Number one, this is an inverse trampoline move, and that is when price is over the 50, but the MOXIE indicator is below zero. So I think that's going to be problematic. And then also, if we look here on the 15-minute time frame, we have price higher, but the MOXIE indicator is lower. This is similar to that negative divergence that I just showed you on the hourly chart for the S&P. So again, if you guys are new to me, if you're new to the MOXIE indicator, and you kind of like the way that this works and how I look at it, then just look into profitpilot.com, and you guys can come pick this up for yourself and take the class and learn how I trade like this. So that's what I'm looking for. I would not be surprised to see Apple start to roll over in the next few days, something like that. And again, I wouldn't be surprised to see it come back down to the daily 50 at least. It might go further. Microsoft also looks very, very similar to that. And this is just problematic. I mean, it's crazy to think and to see that that Microsoft has been following the daily 21 for this long without touching the daily 50. Imagine this is like a tree branch, and the tree branch is only connected back here, and there is a lot of weight hanging out from here, from that fulcrum all the way back there, and the next layer of support is the daily 50. That is a lot of weight to be hanging out there on just this pivot point back here. So I think that this is problematic. I think that Microsoft is going to start heading down eventually, but just like I said on NASDAQ and the Apple, how do we know when they're going to roll over? Well, they got to break these support areas. So far, Microsoft has also been staying above the daily 21, and so far it's also been staying above the hourly 200. But part of what I'm seeing as the issue is inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. And we can see it's been trying to make new highs while the Moxie indicator has been making lower highs on the 15-minute time frame. So I am seeing some weakness start to creep in here. All right, then if we look at Amazon, Amazon, I was looking at maybe there was going to be a bit of a move to the upside, mostly because I was looking like it was pretty oversold, and because it looked like maybe price was starting to hold the daily 200. Now, I was seeing some positive divergence here on the hourly chart through the Moxie indicator, but I had my rules and my parameters to figure out if this thing was going to work out, and those existed on the 15-minute time frame. What you can see is so far price has never been able to hold the 15-minute 50, and the 15-minute 50 has been in a downtrend. So clearly there's been no direction to the upside. We did get a bit of a move yesterday, so Monday, when price moved up over the 15-minute 50, and so I was looking at it, I was like, okay, maybe this is going to be the beginning of some sort of up move. Well, so I was watching it this morning, Tuesday, and price could not hold the 15-minute 50, therefore no trade to the long side. So we just sit and wait, and what that actually then showed was price is now actually breaking below the daily 200, and that was a pretty significant move to the downside. So no trade, nothing like that. We just kind of keep waiting. There were ideas that it was going to maybe move up, and none of those were fulfilled, and so it was never a trade. And Amazon is a big component of some of the ETFs of the market. So if it's not having any traction to the upside, well, then most likely the market's still going to be struggling as well. All right, then we go over to Tesla and NIO. Now, if we look at the higher time frames here on Tesla, it actually looks pretty good, you know? So on the surface, Tesla looks great when it comes to the monthly and weekly timeframes. On the monthly, we've got price staying above the monthly 10, and on the weekly, we've got price doing a double bottom off of the weekly 50. I mean, that looks fantastic. We even have the 8 over the 21. All these things on this time frame look great. But if we start digging a little bit deeper, we start to notice that, maybe it's having some troubles trying to actually hold these moving averages or find support or anything like that. And what I liked in the past was right in through here, I liked that price was starting to hold the daily 50. That looked fantastic. And we had a big move up, it got an upgrade, something like that, okay. And really, ever since that upgrade, because, it just pop, and I wasn't able to catch that, I've been waiting for price to come back down, do a pullback, and find some support, and then move up. And I almost went in here when price was below the 50, but the Moxie indicator was above 0. That's a regular trampoline move, and things were looking all right. But when price kind of came up here, and you could see this on the 15-minute time frame, I just really wasn't too happy about it. You could see that price did pop up, and then the Moxie indicator wasn't looking super awesome. So those who've taken the class understand about the Moxie indicator being spread and not looking so great. And so I thought, okay, well, part of my rules, I need to see price actually hold this moving average here. And it just didn't. And so there was never an entry. There just was never an entry to get in here. And what we can see on the daily chart is, hindsight now, we can see that price was pretty far off of the daily 50. And oh, look, it's already back down to the daily 50. Now, we're going to have to see, is that daily 50 support? Is price going to bounce off the daily 50? If it does, I'd kind of be looking to short that, because I think at this point, if price is able to move back up, it's going to be running into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator below 0. So I would be careful and cautious about Tesla on its bounce, that it might actually be more of a short entry on this bounce than a resumption of an uptrend. Just kind of putting that out there. So be careful with it. Part of the reason why I'm saying that about Tesla is because we look at NIO. Now, I understand NIO, Tesla, one's Chinese, one's not. China has been putting some pressure on tech companies, but they are both electric vehicle manufacturers, and I think they are still representative of the market. So look at NIO, and you can see that it too looked very similar to Tesla in the fact that we had price staying over the monthly 10, and we had price staying over the weekly 50, and all that looked good, except for this week. We have price breaking below the monthly 10. We have price breaking below the weekly 50. This is different. Something has changed. This is not good. It's not bullish. And if we look here on the daily and on the hourly, we have price now underneath and failing below the daily 50 with the Moxie indicator below 0. Not looking good. And look here, we've got price running into the underside of the hourly 200, and the hourly 50s down, and the Moxie indicator's down. Nothing says anything good about this. It's all bearish. Now, maybe there's a bounce. It's getting a little bit oversold, but basically, NIO is not happy, and it is going down, and I think Tesla is probably going to follow suit. I think NIO is starting ahead of Tesla, so, be careful. If you're long Tesla, I'd be careful. If you want to go short Tesla, we might be getting a move to short somewhat soon. All right, then we get over to NVDA. And NVIDIA had some nice moves, and then it looked like it was going to get going, but I cautioned my subscribers about this one. We did have that stock split. You can see price did basically bounce off the daily 50, but in through here, I had a live session with the Moxie subscribers, and I said, I'm not so sure that this thing is going to work. And part of the reason why I said that, again, for anybody who might be new to the Moxie indicator, is because this was an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. So that told me that this thing was likely to not have a lot of strength and likely not going to really get us any good moves or any good gains to the upside. Then what we can see is look at this double top. Pretty good double top right there, and it got sold into. And so far, price has been fading, and getting stuck underneath the hourly 50. Now, we do have earnings coming up. Anything can happen for earnings, so I like to trade after earnings. And once again, give it enough time, I wouldn't be surprised to see price break below the daily 50. And that's not going to be a great thing, so we need to be careful that if price starts to break below the daily 50, there's trouble brewing out there. All right, let's kind of sidestep. Let's go over to GBTC, which is Bitcoin. And there was, basically I kind of view this as a big short squeeze. There was, I think what was the catalyst for this was when Amazon said that they would start considering taking Bitcoin currency for purchases through Amazon. So anyway, I'm looking at this as price breaking over the daily 50. Okay, but eventually price is going to need to be able to test the daily 50. And so I kind of see that price, there's a big gap between price and the daily 50. I think price is going to probably have to come back down to that. So if you are bullish on Bitcoin short term, be careful. I do think it's going to be pulling back. And then we're just going to have to see if it's going to hold support at the daily 50 or not. So keep an eye out there. It looks a little sketch, and I think a lot of things are looking pretty rough out there. All right. Then we get over to, say, CCL. We go to Carnival Cruise Lines. And part of the reason I'm looking at this, I'll show you the higher time frames. They seem like they just want to keep kind of pulling back. Now, I'd usually, in another market, in a stronger market, I would usually like to see price back here at the weekly 50 and here at the monthly 10. Usually that's going to be support, and usually price is going to be moving up from there. But if we look over here, I'm not sure that's going to be happening. What I'm seeing is that this is most likely a bear flag. So we got the pullback right there on the daily chart, and really this is just moving sideways into the underside of a downtrending daily 50. Give it enough time, and I think this thing is going to run into resistance and continue to roll over. I view this as basically a bear flag. So watch out for that and see if you want to short it, maybe there's a short coming. Now, let me then show you JETS. JETS is the ETF for airlines, and this is why I'm talking about with CCL, cruise lines, all that kind of stuff, that I think that there might actually be more downside into these. Unfortunately, the news, again, is about the Delta variant. COVID in general, it's probably going to be stifling travel. It's going to be putting pressure on a lot of things out there. There is talk, masks again. lockdowns. I know Australia, New Zealand, some other European countries are being very stern about lockdowns. It seems to be happening and coming back again. So be aware of that and be careful. It's probably going to affect some of these travel stocks. But here, price is breaking below the monthly 10, and it's starting to break below the weekly 50. And then if we go over to here, we can see that price, here's that pullback, and it's really mostly just going sideways. And again, probably into resistance until maybe it breaks lower. So what I'd be watching for is this level and seeing if it just kind of keeps melting down from there. It could kind of do one more thing and then go down. It's hard to really say, but it's been fairly clear here on the hourly chart. It ran right into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50, or hourly 200, sorry. And so it just does not, this does not look like it is a pillar of strength, and it does not look like it wants to go higher. If anything, it kind of looks like it wants to go sideways further until it really starts to roll over. And hey, maybe that can be sooner than later, but I would be very, very careful about looking at these things to the long side. All right. So that's everything we've got through. Again, if anybody's kind of new to me and doesn't know much about the Moxie indicator, I'm out here every Wednesday on this. I've got my subscription room and trading room. And if you guys want to be taking classes about the Moxie indicator, then come on over here to profitpilot.com and click on services. And otherwise, come enjoy these free webinars that I give every Wednesday. And then we'll see you around. And hopefully you guys are taking care of yourselves in the market. It is very challenging out there. And it's looking like it's getting even sketchier. So do be careful out there. And until next week, I'll see you guys later. Thanks.